If you've just finished Grimgar, you want a second season, but then you go looking, and it was released in 2016 with no season 2 announcements in sight. That's 5 years ago. Just enough time to grind all your hopes and dreams into fine dust. But that doesn't make any sense. It's not like there are any other anime out there that were awesome, but got no second season adaptations. None that come to mind. None at all. Well, if you've come to this video for salvation, don't worry, your prayers have been answered. Well, not with an actual season 2, because wanting good things past 2020 is a trap. But don't worry, in this video we're going to be taking a deep dive to see whether or not it's possible for us to get more Grimgar. We'll be looking at the popularity of the anime, its success in Japan, all the way to the studio that made it happen. After which you can either admirably stick to your guns and wait out for a second season, or binge light novel spoilers like the degenerate we both know you are. And don't worry, I completely get it. I was an anime only fan for the longest time. For all the right reasons. Just so many reasons. So you have my word, there are going to be no spoilers in this video. Before we go any further, let's address the elephant in the room. Can we get season 2 in 2021? And listen, this isn't going to be one of those videos where I unleash my 2-hour manifesto on you, then follow it up with an unsatisfying answer. That's just not me. Nah, we're just going to start off with the unsatisfying answer. There is zero chance you're getting a season 2 in 2021. With that being said, the possibility for a season 2 is there. It's not impossible. Just recently, Devil is a Part-Timer got a second season announcement after a painful 8-year-long hiatus, which just goes to show you can get anything you put your mind to, as long as you cry hard enough on Reddit. So let's get into why I think Grimgar has season 2 potential, and to understand that, we'll need to understand why anime gets made. See, here in the West, as long as you have an idea that's somewhat marketable, and you can sell the hell out of it, you can have the show of your dreams made, and even in some rare cases, get almost 18 million people to hate it simultaneously. But that's not the case in Japan, and like most things out of Japan, it can get weird. Before I dive into any of this, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. None of this is my first-hand experience. I am not affiliated with the anime industry, but I do possess the one ability that's responsible for pushing forward the human race. The ability to Google stuff. So yeah, a lot of this is my research, links down below. It all starts with a producer who wants to make an anime as a marketing opportunity, and I want to really reiterate that. Anime gets made to promote stuff. The vast majority of anime take their storylines from either PC games, manga, or in the case of Grimgar, light novels. Even in some rare cases, you can have religious groups further their cause using anime. God, I love it when my faith gets representation. Anime is often a means to an end. A great example of that is Duel Masters, and it's taught me quite a few lessons growing up as a kid. The importance of friendship, to pursue my goals and dreams, and how incredibly fun gambling can be. Proud traditions that carry on to this day. To make the anime happen, the producer needs to get the original property holder on board as well. This, in most cases, is going to be the author or creator under a specific publishing company. So in the case of Grimgar, I can only imagine the conversation went something like this. Okay, this Grimgar series seems pretty cool. It's got cute girls. The world is detailed and realistic. People actually die when they're killed. The author literally looks like an edgy anime protagonist. Think you can make this a great anime? What? Yeah, sure, whatever. I'm kinda busy. So from here, it's the producer's job to raise money for the project, because in most cases, it's too big of a risk for any single entity to take. The average 12-episode anime can take upwards to $2 million to produce, and about 20 minutes to get cancelled on Twitter. So the producer goes out and forms what is known as a production committee. These are a group of companies who pool in their resources to make the anime happen. They share in the winnings, the losses, and most importantly, the degeneracy. So we can infer 3 things that need to happen for us to get a second season of an anime. Number 1, we need to get a production committee who's willing to put up the resources to make the anime happen. 2, we need to get the original publisher on board with the project. And number 3, we need a plot with strong familial bonds with no dirty undertones whatsoever. But for the sake of my sanity, let's stick with number 1 and 2 in this video, please. So can we get a production committee together for Grimgar? And I believe 100% yes. It shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, but after watching the anime or reading any of the novel, you'll notice the story is freaking awesome. So much so that it personally caught the attention of director and animator Ryusuke Nakamura. And let me tell you, this guy should not be easy to impress. His portfolio contains things like Attack on Titan, Your Lie in April, and the show that single-handedly changed the way I think about anime and life in general, High School of the Dead. And when you can get important names interested, it becomes that much easier to get big studios in the mix. Let's be honest, the studio for Grimgar, A1 Pictures, is frigging massive. Not only have they put out bangers like Kaguya, Magi, Promised Everland, they are also responsible for half the anime clips that go into compilation videos that made me waste away my life and all my ambitions. Rest in peace. So for them to pursue an idea as unproven as Grimgar isn't really that attractive, but what we can tell from Grimgar's author Aojo Manji's afterwards is that Nakamura and the gang really wanted to make the anime great and follow as closely to the light novel as humanly possible, with some minor enhancements of course. And it follows if you can get a director and animator on Ryusuke Nakamura's level invested in the first season, it goes to follow that you could find other cultured individuals who are just as inclined. But was Grimgar successful enough in Japan to really warrant that? So let's look at the Blu-ray and DVD numbers out of Japan. Why are we looking at those? Because while in the West, we get a nervous meltdown if our quote-unquote free movie doesn't start buffering in like half a second, DVDs and Blu-rays are still alive and well in Japan. So while researching this, I saw volumes everywhere, which really confused the ever-living crap out of me. So I'm gonna break it down for you guys. Anime DVDs and Blu-ray discs usually come in volumes. The average 12-episode anime will have around 6 volumes with 2 episodes each, although this can vary from studio to studio. I got really interested while looking up this stuff, so I decided to check out some of the prices. So it's $62 for 1 volume and $210 for the entire set. Yeah, no. Listen, I'm a weeb, but I'm not wasteful. I spend money on the finer things in life. Things that make me feel good, confident, and fulfilled. That's why I have over 100 skins on League. Okay, so let's take a look at the numbers, and we'll start with Grimgar's debut year in 2016. The first volume did the best by a wide margin at 5,934. The last volume, by far the worst, at 3,360. The total volume sale equates to 23,758. But looking at these numbers, I have no idea if they're good or god-awful. So I dug up numbers from the best-selling Blu-rays and DVDs from 2016. So the top 2 sellers were Love Live Sunshine and Yuri on Ice. You'll notice the major pillars of the anime world represented here quite nicely. It clearly shows who the real backbone of the anime community is. But yeah, comparing the numbers to Grimgar, yikes! But here's the deal, I don't think this is a fair comparison because the other shows might have pre-built followings, they might have had better marketing, they might have just been inherently better than Grimgar. I'm just saying there's a lot of things to really take into account. So what I ended up doing was taking all the sales data from 2016 and using Excel to average it out, because doing math without a computer throws me in a state of crippling anxiety. So the average sale in 2016 was 4,403, and if we compare that to the numbers with Grimgar is really not measuring up to the average, except for Volume 1, which slightly beat out the average. But that's 2016. Old news, right? What if we compare the numbers to the last year that we had the most data for, 2020? Although 2020 did bring bangers like Peter Grill, Iwa Kakeru, and the granddaddy of all cultured content, Interspecies Reviewers, I still have some hope. If we do the same thing with 2020 as we did with 2016, we can see the average has gone down significantly to 3,293, which would make total sense because streaming has recently become possible, and one of the box sets could sub my Crunchyroll for life. Why? Because I don't pay for my Crunchyroll. Why else do you guys make friends? So Grimgar does compete sales-wise, but I want to divert my attention for a second to how Grimgar does as a licensed show. And I'm going to be primarily comparing it to other shows released in 2016 for a proper comparison, and be primarily taking my numbers from both Funimation and Crunchyroll. I know a lot of you would rather tickle Satan's golf balls than to deal with Funimation's website, so don't worry. got you covered. I'm using both these sites because they make up the majority of streaming done in the West, and their reviews kind of let us loosely gauge how popular a show is. But again, I want to put a disclaimer. This is very loose, so really take this with a grain of salt. Do not use these as definites, but they kind of let us see how well the shows are doing. So Grimgar has a total of 8,331 reviews, which is pretty great compared to things like Erased, ReZero, Psyche, and even not far behind Yuri on Ice, the second best-selling Blu-ray/DVD in 2016. So streaming-wise, I'd say Grimgar is doing great, much better than a lot of shows, which brings me to why I think it has a big chance to garner attention from other producers. See, back in the day, and honestly, mostly for today as well, anime producers don't really give a crap about Western fans. And thank God, or else we'd get more pushback on our content like in Australia, sparking the fires for World War III, in which I will most certainly be taking part. But there is one thing producers are warming up to: the interest of international licensors and the money they bring in. Crunchyroll has reportedly in 2018 contributed $100 million to production companies, and while that's a small piece of the overall pie, it's slowly growing. Production companies are just trying to break even when they're making an anime, so they'll really take what they can get. Making a successful anime is almost as rare as finding an isekai without a ridiculous name. On top of that, royalties are involved, and most shows operate on a term contract, meaning the licensor will have to renew to keep airing rights. This starts to add up to decent money. Between the licensing and the sales of the BD and DVDs, I'm having mixed feelings, but let's step back a second and take a look at the relationship between A1 Pictures and the publisher for Grimgar, Overlap. Most anime, when they go for a second season, tend to stick with the same studio, or the results can get fun. So if the anime really did that terribly for A1, the relationship between A1 and Overlap might not be that hot, which means A1 would be very hesitant to come onto other projects with Overlap, but we didn't really see that. In fact, later that year, we got another joint project released by them called Occultic 9. I've never heard of it, but I can definitely see two massive reasons for watching it. And while the original team that did Grimgar's beautiful backgrounds went out of business, it shouldn't be that big of a barrier because A1's specialty is really finding the right talent to fit the right project, so no problems there. And even if A1 wasn't on board, looking through Overlap's history, they have working relationships with Gainax, 8-Bit, and various other studios. So finding another studio shouldn't be that hard. So combining this with a fair bit of optimism and a tiny bit of self-delusion, I think it's totally possible to get the funding for season 2. But I don't think that's going to be the problem. The biggest problem is going to be Overlap's intention to actually go for a second season. And here's why. Take a look. Here is their record with light novel adaptations. See a trend? Well, let me break it down. Infinite Stratos was the first property they had adapted by 8-Bit in 2011, and as we all know, your chances of a season 2 go up exponentially based on the number of figurines people want to rub one out to. So obviously, a second season shortly aired in 2013. From there, they went on to Grimgar in 2016. Now we're in the current timeline with Arifureta released in 2019 and season 2 planned for 2022. So what do we understand from this? That's right, Overlap is nothing if not consistent. But more than their taste, Overlap likes to find a property and stick to it like a fat kid on cake. Let's look at Infinite Stratos. I couldn't find any numbers for its release year in 2010, but looking at the numbers for 2011, it did phenomenal, and that was the year it got its anime. Then you look at 2012, sales nowhere near the top. Fast forward to 2013, oh look, we're back. What could have happened here, I wonder? Alright, Infinite Stratos Season 2. Overlap knew at this point, we make an anime, we get more light novel sales. But like last time, the success was short-lived. Infinite Stratos could not sustain its numbers in 2014 and 2015. So at this point, Overlap was like, yeah, let's try something new. So they decided to pick up two of their unknown properties, Occultic 9 and Grimgar. And listen, these shows were nothing alike. One of them went on to become an instant classic, beating out shows like SAO, Snafu, and really just becoming a community favorite, while the other ended up making for really good doujins. So I guess everyone's a winner here. But again, just like Infinite Stratos, Grimgar could not sustain the growth of its light novel, falling off hard in the coming year. So why didn't Overlap employ the same strategy they did with Infinite Stratos? Why didn't they go for a second season of Grimgar? How do we go from this to this? Well, to understand this, we'll have to take a look at the numbers from November 2016 to May 2017. Out of absolutely nowhere, Arifureta started selling like crazy, even beating out Grimgar, which just got an anime as an advertisement. Which just goes to show you, Japanese weebs, they didn't just embrace the edge, they were born in it, molded by it. Also, cute Kudere vampire waifu helps enormously. Up to this point, Overlap never had a light novel charting that high without having some sort of anime as like a booster. And again, remember, in Japan, anime is used to boost the light novel sales. In fact, a prominent strategy is to wait for a light novel to get popular and use that as a litmus test to make an anime. It eases the worries of producers and publishers because there's no way a popular light novel would make a bad anime, right? And that, in my opinion, is what happened with Arifureta, shortly getting an anime announcement in December 2017. So how does this fit into us getting a season 2? Well, we know two things Overlap cares about. One, light novel sales above everything else. They don't even want to look at other things. And two, they like to stick to their winners. That's about it. Let's take a look at Arifureta's light novel numbers. And for this, I'm going to be going to the site where I go for relationship advice, life advice, and career advice. Reddit. And the numbers are insane. Just volume 8 of Arifureta has pretty much outsold all of Grimgar combined. And put that together with the season 2 announcement, it's clear to see Overlap is sticking to Arifureta, as they rightfully should. Which brings me to my original point that in 2021, you're not getting Grimgar because Arifureta is their sole focus at the moment. But that won't be the case forever. The impossible can and has happened, but it'll be tough. Tougher than browsing Twitter when you haven't watched the newest episode of Attack on Titan. And we know that they're not 100% opposed to taking chances, as they did with Grimgar and Occultic Knight. At some point, they'll start realizing how bad the Arifureta anime is doing. Every day we stray further from God's grace. But yeah, I guess the stars have to align. They apparently have to get over the mega success that the Arifureta anime is. They'll also have to choose Grimgar over another light novel, and they'll also have to choose Grimgar over Infinite Stratos. Again, not impossible, just very improbable. And listen, I'm a very optimistic guy. I like to just go out there and make things happen and just to chase after my dreams. So what I want to do together with you right now is just to sit down, draft a small letter to Overlap to let them know how much we want a second season. So here we go. Dear anime maker, lady person, son, can we please get another season of Grimgar? Pretty please. I would also like to see more of Mary because she's hot as because she's a great character and the pinnacle of female representation. Also, can we throw Ranta off a cliff? I think that would be great character development. P.S. Please don't kill any of my favorite characters. Pretty please. P.P.S. More Yume too as well. Okay, now I'm feeling a little bit better about our chances. And again, I'd like to point back to Devil as a Part-Timer Season 2. Listen, I looked through all the numbers. Other than 2013, it hasn't done phenomenally in the light novels. And the only other thing that it's really got going for it is its anime. So theoretically, you could wait for the anime to happen. I personally did not, and went ahead and just binged the light novel nonstop, 2,000 pages in like a week. Why? Because I really don't have anything that resembles an ounce of self-control. But it's also really awesome. It just gets so good, man. Like, Jesus Christ, I like the anime, but man, the detail in the light novels are just so freaking awesome. It makes the world of Grimgar that's already so fleshed out even more fleshed out. And I didn't even think that was possible. And if you're still bummed out that Grimgar isn't getting a second season anytime soon, I just want to point out that Oreimo got a second season that took it from a dumpster fire to a full-blown incest-filled nuclear apocalypse. So yeah, second season isn't always good. But yeah, in the coming weeks, I'll be going through all of Grimgar up to where we left off from the anime, all the way up to the present arc. So if you don't really care about light novel spoilers, or you just are already caught up, tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if you have any thoughts about why you think the anime is going to happen or why you think it's absolutely not going to happen, just leave it down in the comments below. I spent so much time going through all of this. I would love somebody else's input. I think it'd be really fun to have a conversation. And if you haven't noticed, this is actually the first video I have on my channel. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching up to here. If you liked this, let me know why. If you didn't like it, please let me know why. I'd love to improve. I'd love any feedback. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you later. Oh yeah, completely forgot. If you want more content like this, please leave a like, subscribe. It would really help me out, guys. And I'd really appreciate it a lot. Thank you.